Good evening, Meadowlawn families and students. We're going to continue reading in Despereaux, and we're going to read 15 and 16. So chapter 15, Light. When Despereaux awoke, he was cupped in the large calloused hand of a human, and he was staring into the fire of one match. Beyond the match there was large dark eyes looking directly at him. "A mouse with a red thread," boomed the voice. "Oh yes, Gregory knows the way of mice and rats. Gregory knows, and Gregory has his own thread marking him. See here, mouse?" And the match was held to a candle, and the candle sputtered to life, and Despereaux saw there was a rope tied around the man's ankle. "Here is the difference between us. Gregory's rope saves him, and your thread will be the death of you." The man blew the candle out, and darkness descended, and the man's hand closed more tightly around Despereaux, and Despereaux let his beguiled heart start up a crazy rhythm of fear. "Who are you?" he whispered. "The answer to that question, mouse, is Gregory. You are talking to Gregory the jailer, who has been buried here, keeping watch over the dungeon for decades, for centuries, for cons, for eternities. You are talking to Gregory the jailer, who is the richest of ironies, is nothing but a prisoner here himself." "Oh," said Despereaux, may I get down, Gregory?" "The mouse wants to know if Gregory the jailer will let him go. Listen to Gregory, mouse. You do not want to be let go. Here in the dungeon, you're in the treacherous, dark heart of the world. And if Gregory was to release you, the twistings and the turnings and death ends and false stories of this place would swallow you for eternity. Only Gregory and the rats can find their way through this maze. The rats, because they know, because the way of it mirrors their own dark hearts. And Gregory, because the rope is forever tied to his ankle, to guide him back to the beginning. Gregory would let you go, but you would only beg him to take you up again, and the rats are coming for you, you see." "They are? Listen," said Gregory. "You can hear their tails dragging through the muck and filth. You can hear them filing their nails and teeth. They are coming for you. They are coming to take you apart, piece by piece." Despereaux listened, and he was quite certain that he heard the nails and the teeth of the rats, and the sound of the sharp things being made sharper still. "They will strip all the fur from your flesh and all the flesh from your bones. And when they are done with you, there will be nothing left except a red thread. Red thread and bones. Gregory has seen it many times, the tragic end of a mouse." But I need to live," said Despereaux. I can't die." "You cannot die? Ah, that is lovely," he says. "He cannot die." Gregory closed his hand more tightly around Despereaux. "And why would that be, mouse? Why is it that you cannot die?" Because I'm in love. I love somebody, and it's my duty to serve her." "Love," said Gregory. "Love, hark you. I will show you the twisted results of love." Another match was struck, and the candle was lit again, and Gregory held it up, that its flame illuminated a massive, towering, teetering pile of spoons and kettles and soup bowls. "Look on that, mouse," said Gregory. "This is the monument to the foolishness of love." "Well, what is it?" asked Despereaux. He had stared at the great tower that reached up into the blackness. "What it looks like, spoons and bowls and kettles, and all of them gathered here as hard evidence of the pain of loving a living thing. The king loved the queen, and the queen died. This monstrosity, this junk heap, is the result of love." I don't understand," said Despereaux. "And you will not understand until you lose what you love. But enough about love," said Gregory. He blew out the candle. "We will talk instead about your life, and how Gregory will save it, if you desire." "Well, why would you save me?" Despereaux asked. "Have you saved any other mice? Never, said Gregory, not one. Well, why would you save me then? Because you're a mouse. You can tell Gregory a story. Stories are light. Light is precious in the world so dark. Begin at the beginning. Tell Gregory a story and make some light. And because Despereaux wanted very much to live, he said, once upon a time. Yes, said Gregory happily. He raised his hand higher and then higher still until Despereaux's whiskers brushed against his leathery, time-worn ear. Go on, mouse, said Gregory. Tell Gregory a story. And it was in this day that Despereaux became the only mouse sent to the dungeon whom the rats did not reduce to a pile of bones and a piece of red thread. It was in this way that Despereaux was saved. Reader, if you don't mind, this is where we leave out our small mouse for now in the dark of the dungeon, in the hand of an old jailer telling a story to save himself. It is time for us to turn our attention elsewhere. Time for us, reader, to speak of the rats, and one of the rats in particular. And that's the end of the first book. So now we're going to go to the second book, Chiaroscuro. So, chapter 16, Blinded by the Light. As our story continues, reader, we must go backwards in time to the birth of a rat named Chiaroscuro, or else we call it Roscurio, a rat born into the filth and the darkness of the dungeon, several years before the mouse Despereaux was born upstairs in the light. Reader, do you know the definition of the word Chiaroscuro? If you look in your dictionary, you will find that it means the arrangement of light and dark, darkness and light together. Rats do not care for light. Roscurio's parents were having a bit of fun when they named their son. Rats have a sense of humor. Rats, in fact, think life is very funny. And they are right, reader. They are right. In the case of Chiaroscuro, however, the joke had a hint of prophecy to it. For it happened that night when Roscurio was a very young rat, he came upon a great length of rope in the dungeon floor. Ah, what do we have here? Said Roscurio. Being a rat, he immediately began to nibble at the rope. Stop that! Boomed a voice, and a great hand came out of the darkness and picked the rat up by the tail and held him suspended upside down. Were you nibbling on Gregory's rope, rat? Who wants to know? Said Roscurio, for even upside down he was still a rat. You smart-alecky rat. You're smart-alecky rat, nibbling on Gregory's rope. Gregory will teach you mess with his rope. And keeping Roscurio upside down, Gregory lit a match with the nail of his thumb, and then held the brilliant flame right in Roscurio's face. Ah, said Roscurio. He pulled his head back away from the light, but alas, he did not close his eyes. The flame exploded around him, and it danced inside him. Has no one told you the rules? Said Gregory. What rules? Gregory's rope rat is off limits. So, apologize for chewing on Gregory's rope. I will not, said Roscurio. Apologize. No. Filthy rat, said Gregory. You black-souled thing. Gregory has had it with you rats. He held the match closer to Roscurio's face, and a terrible smell of burnt whiskers rose up around the jailer and the rat. And then that match went out, and Gregory released Roscurio's tail. He flung him back into the darkness. Do not ever touch Gregory's rope again, or you will be sorry. Roscurio sat at the dungeon floor, and the whiskers on his left side of his face were gone, and his heart was beating hard, and though the light from the match had disappeared, it danced still before the rat's eyes, even when he closed them. Light he said aloud, and then he whispered the word again. Light. From that moment forward, Roscoe showed us an abnormal, inordinate interest in illumination of sorts. He was always in the darkness of the dungeon on the lookout for the light, the smallest glimmer, the tiniest shimmer. His rat soul longed inexplicably for it. He began to think that light was the only thing that gave life meaning, and he despaired that there was so little of it to be had. He finally voiced the sentiment to his friend, a very old, one-eared rat named Boricelli Rimorso. I think, said Roscoe, the meaning of life is light. Light? Said Boricelli. Ha, you kill me. Light has nothing to do with it. Well, what does it all mean then? Said Roscoe. The meaning of life, said Boricelli, is suffering, specifically the suffering of others. Prisoners, for instance. Reducing a prisoner to weeping and wailing and begging is a delightful way to invest your existence with meaning. As he spoke, Boricelli swung from one extraordinarily long nail of his right front paw, a heart-shaped locket. He had taken the locket from a prisoner and hung it on a thin braided rope. Whatever Boricelli spoke, the locket moved back and forth, back and forth. It swung. Are you listening? Boricelli said Roscoe. I'm listening. Good, said Boricelli. Do I say your life will be full of meaning? This is how to torture a prisoner first. You must convince him that you are a friend, and listen to him and encourage him to confess his sins. And when the time is right, talk to him. Tell him what he wants to hear. Tell him, for instance, that you will forgive him. This is a wonderful joke to play upon a prisoner, to promise forgiveness. Well, why? Said Roscoe. His eyes went back and forth, following the locket. Because, said Boricelli, you will promise it, but you will not grant it. You will gain his trust, and then you deny him. You refuse to offer the very thing he wants, forgiveness, freedom, friendship, whatever is that his heart most desires, you will withhold. And at this point in his lectures, Boricelli laughed so hard that he had to sit down and catch his breath. The locket swayed slowly back and forth, and then it stopped altogether. Ha! Said Boricelli. Ha! You gain his trust, you refuse him. Ha! You began what he knew you were all along, what you knew you were all along. Not a friend, not a confessor, not a forgiver, but a rat. Boricelli wiped his eyes and shook his head and sighed a sigh of great contentment. He set the locket in the motion again. At that point, it is most effective to run back and forth over the prisoner's feet, inducing physical terror along with emotional sort. Oh, he said, it is such a lovely game. It's such a lovely game, and it's just absolutely chock full of meaning. I would like very much to torture a prisoner, said Roscoe. I would like to make someone suffer. Your time will come, said Boricelli. Currently, all the prisoners are spoken for, but another prisoner will arrive sooner or later. How do I know this is to be true? Because, Roscoe, thankfully there is evil in the world, and the presence of evil guarantees the existence of prisoners. So soon there will be a prisoner for me? Yes, said Boricelli to Rimorso. Yes, I'm looking forward to it. Of course you're looking forward to it. You are looking forward to it because you are a rat, a real rat. Yes, said Roscoe, I'm a real rat. Concern not with all the light, said Boricelli. Concern not with all the light, repeated Roscoe. Boricelli laughed again and shook his head. The locket suspended from the long tail on his paw swung back and forth, back and forth. You, my friend, are a rat. Exactly. Yes. Evil, prisoners, rats, suffering, it all fits together so neatly, so sweetly. Oh, it's a lovely world, a lovely dark world. Well, that's all for chapters 15 and 16. Coco and I say goodnight, families. Enjoy reading the book.